to tell you that the Committee on Public Lectures has nothing against music, and that we had no way of knowing that 7 Monday evenings in the fall of 1966 would include 3 rainy Mondays and 1 Halloween. But we've survived, and I thank you very much. This is, of course, the 7th and the concluding lecture in the faculty lecture series of 66, fall 66, entitled The Many Languages of Music. The lecturer this evening is Professor Boris Kremenliev. And a few words about him. Professor Kremenliev was born in Bulgaria. His education was here in the United States, first at DePaul University in Chicago, and then at the Eastman School of Music of the University of Rochester, New York, from which he holds a Ph.D. He served with the Psychological Warfare Branch of the U.S. Army during World War II and became musical director of the South German Network for the U.S. government after the war. He then returned to this country and in 1946 became a member of the faculty of the Department of Music here at UCLA. Under grants by the American Philosophical Society and the Ford Foundation, Dr. Kremenliev has done research among Slavic groups in this country and in the Balkans, has written books and articles in the field of Balkan music. He is also well known as a composer. His works have been performed, works of many types, many sizes, been performed by symphony orchestras and chamber groups, in concerts and on radio here in the United States, in Europe, also in South America. Currently he writes and produces, in addition to his activities here at UCLA, a program for Pacifica Radio, many of you may have heard, called The Many Musics of Man, broadcast here, of course, over KPFK. He is this year the recipient of a fellowship in the University of California's Institute of Creative Arts, and working currently to complete an opera. I might add that the librettist for that opera is Dr. Kremenliev, but the Dr. Kremenliev that is the wife of Dr. Boris Kremenliev. She is a professor of English now at the University of California in Irvine, and we are particularly indebted to Professor Kremenliev, Boris Kremenliev that is, to be speaking this evening because normally a member of that, or recipient of that fellowship, is away from this campus for the entire year in which he holds the fellowship. And therefore coming back this evening is a great service, I think, to the Committee on Public Lectures and to all of us. It is my pleasure, therefore, to present to you Dr. Boris Kremenliev. Thank you. I'll leave you a seat.
I'm somewhat comprehensive about being the last in the lecture series. It promises to be either one of the most or the least important. We still have a chance of doing the latter one, but it seems to me that being the last one will not give the opportunity to the audience to show its displeasure and not show up the next time. So I took an extra insurance and invited some live performance to help us along a little bit. And we shall try to give you some music, show some photographs, and present some dances for you. The topic, as has been announced, deals with the music of the Balkan peoples and what and how it has helped to preserve the national identity of the people. The Western concept of national consciousness originated in the Balkans some 2,700 years ago, and since that time, music, which was one of its most important elements, has continued to play an important role in the preservation of national identity for all Balkan peoples who followed. The criteria who the Greeks used to distinguish themselves from foreigners were ties of language, religion, and custom. But it was national gatherings with elaborate athletic and musical contests which gave them the clearest expression of community feeling. Thus, gymnastics and music rated high among their cultural interests. In modern times, Balkan national groups have been moved from political unit to political unit as the map has been arbitrarily changed, but the ties between members of the ancient groupings has remained strong and proud. Artistic achievements of Balkans are treasured by fellow Yugoslavs, Bulgarians, Romanians, Greeks. They boast of live opera singers Zinka Milanov and Boris Christov, Greek conductor Dimitri Metropolis, the Yugoslav Nobel Prize winner Ivo Andrić, and the Greek Nikos Kazantzakis, whose works have been translated into many languages, have brought honor to the Balkan nations in recent times. And yet, the Balkan Slavs have been free for less than half a century, and the Greeks only since 1821. We could put the entire Balkan Peninsula into the state of Texas, and the total population is only 6 million more than the combined population of California and New York. But life is very different for the Balkan peasant than for the average American. The peasant knows his land well and intimately because he walks across it daily. He may till the soil, raise the animal, and live close to severe winters as well as to bountiful summers. He lives in mountains where the air is always fresh and in valleys which are green with vegetation. He identifies with his land in a way that Kazantzakis describes in Report to Greco. I marched, and as I marched, I felt that the entire earth and sky were journeying with me. All the surrounding miracles penetrated into me. I blossomed, laughed, vibrated in my turn like a bowstring. My soul vanished on that Sunday, faded songfully into the morning light, just like the lark. I climbed to the top of a hill and gazed over the narrow, rose-colored beaches, the sea, the faintly outlined islands. What a joy that was! Greece, with her virgin body, how she swims through the waves and lifts herself above them, the sun falling upon her like a bridegroom. How she has tamed stones and water, rid herself of matter's inertia and coarseness, and conserved only the essential. I was roaming in order to become acquainted with Attica, or so I thought. But I was really roaming in order to become acquainted with my soul. I wished to find it and come to know it in trees, mountains, and solitude. A grasshopper landed on my shoulder and sat there. For some time we traveled together. My whole body smelled like a pine. I had become a pine. Then, as I emerged from the pine forest, I saw the white column of the temple of Poseidon, and between them and the hollow sea, a deep scintillating blue. Here in Attica, one feels that everything is subordinated to a rhythm which is simple, sure, and balanced. The silver-leafed olive trees, the slender ascetic cypresses, the playful glare of rocks in the sun, and above all, the buoyant, diaphanous, completely spiritual light which dresses and undresses all things. My knees gave way beneath me. I halted. This is beauty, I thought to myself. This is the wingless victory, the summit of joy. Man can reach no higher. This is Greece. End of quote. Although the Balkan peasant works very hard, he has an enviable reputation for longevity. In my opinion, he lives long because he is happy enough to sing, play, and dance even when he is physically exhausted. He does not seem to make work bearable, as some specialists want us to believe, but because his inner world is in order. It's a simple world, uncomplicated, small perhaps, but it's his own, shared only with his family and friends. This world of his has not changed much across the centuries, and this has given continuity of tradition and belief, stability and balance. When outside forces invade his world and try to offset his balance, he will spill his blood in shelter valleys and mountain tops, and from it flowers and trees will grow, and his children will carry on. As in the Kleftik song which we shall hear, as in the Andrić's The Bridge on the Drina, as in ancient Greece when Apollo frayed Marsyas, and from the blood the river Marsyas sprang and watered the lowland. I recently revisited the Balkans and stayed in the villages where I had done mountain climbing and lived with peasants some 30 years earlier. The houses were the same. Clothing had changed neither in style nor in a manner of making. Villagers still walked a mile to fill their earthen jugs with water. Pigs and cattle still formed a noisy procession to and from pasture. The shepherd still played the kaval. The father of the two brothers who recorded for me and his father before him had played the kaval. That maintained a tradition, a continuous tradition in the family for over 100 years. The priest and school teacher were still the only literate folk, but there was nothing to read. No electricity, but peasant food and drink tasted fine by candlelight. Ideas, recent events, gossip were still the main business of the village coffee house. Cold in the winter, hot in the summer, dark with smoke. But listen. Not especially dreary nor oppressing. He who sings thinks no evil, says a Bulgarian proverb. A young man named Mile tells us in the bridge on the Drina why he sings. He is not one of the main characters. He appears briefly in 2 paragraphs or so and is gone. But he is symbolic of many thousands of Balkan Slavs, and he is, in a way, one of the heroes. That morning before sunrise, Mile placed some barley in the mill to ground, and then opened the big mill race and went into the forest to cut wood. He brandished his axe and cut off the soft alder branches like straws. He enjoyed the morning freshness and the ease with which the wood fell his axe. His own movements were a pleasure to him. Something within him swelled his breast and drove him to shout loud at each moment. His cries became more and more frequent and connected. Without thinking of anything and forgetting where he was, he began to sing what he had heard others singing. At that time Serbia had risen in revolt, and the people had made of the old song, "When Ali Beg was a young beg, a maiden bore his standard," a new song. When Karagiorge, substituting a local name, a local hero, was a young beg, a maiden bore his standard. In that great and strange struggle, which had been waged in Bosnia for centuries between two faiths, for land and power, and their conception of life and order, the adversaries had taken from each other not only women, horses and arms, but also songs. Many of us passed down from one to the other as the most precious booty. This song, then, was sung among the Serbs, but in secret, in closed houses, at family feasts, or in distant pastures where a Turk might not set a foot for a year at a time, and where a man, at the price of loneliness and poverty in the wilderness, might live as he wished and sing what he liked. And it is just that song that Mile, the mill attendant, had thought fit to sing in the forest just below the road which the Turks passed on their way to market. Dawn had just reached the crest of the mountain, and there in the shady place it was quite dark. Mile was all wet with dew, but warm from good night's sleep, hot bread, and work. He struck the slender alder near its roots, but the tree only bent like a young bride who kisses the hand of the coom who leads her to marriage. He sang at the top of his voice, pronouncing certain of the words with enjoyment. Karagiorge was something vague, but strong and daring. Maiden and standard were also things unknown to him, but things which in some way answered to his most intimate dreams. To have a girl of his own and bear a standard. And all the strength within him drove him to pronounce them clearly and countless time over and over again, and to repeat them still more loudly. So sang Mile at the break of day, until he had cut and trimmed the branches for which he had come. End of quote. Then came the Turks. Mile does not understand what he has done wrong. An old man comes to console him. Both of them are tied. They cannot embrace but kiss each other and make the sign of the cross, for they know they are doomed. They are beheaded, and their heads placed on sticks. The bridge was never without such decorations. Those two, continues the writers, whom no one before then had ever seen or heard of, remained together in memory, a memory clearer and more lasting than that of so many other more important victims. Between my last two visits, more than a quarter of a century apart, I found that neither the music nor the customs which accompany a village wedding had changed. There was music for the preparation and dressing of the bride, special music for shaving the groom, for procession to church. The gaida, or bagpipe, is still always or nearly always present. We hear now wedding song, a mournful introduction improvised by the player. It's in the melancholy spirit of the bride and her party. Then is followed by a typical folk tune. In this particular case, it's Sedna Jana Potsenka Loznica. And here are the words. Jana seated herself under a great fine shade, spinning a fine thread, shedding tiny tears, cursing bitterly her mother. Why did you give me away to Volko, who lives far away? To go far away is bad and the boy is no good. All my friends come to the village gathering, Zbor. My young man is never among them. At home he stays instead, sitting by the fireplace, helping his mother with the cooking. He goes, he does not want to join the Zbor, he does not want to dance the horo, he does not want a mlada nevesta, young bride. It's usually sung on the way to church, from the church to the girl's house, from the bridegroom's house to the church. Sometimes they're improvised on a folk tune with variations. Sometimes the bagpipe himself, the bagpipe player, both sings and plays. I recorded one such phenomenon. And here is the folk tune. Sedna Jana. This is one of the few bagpipe players I never known who had been retired on government pension for having been a professional musician all his life. He retired at the age of 50 or 55 and built himself a very beautiful house outside Skopje and lived the life of an ex-professional musician. Couldn't read a note, terrific player. Things seem somewhat more cheerful in Bulgaria, judging from the wedding song which follows. The prospective groom has come this time from Constantinople for the wedding, and after heavy preparation of some 3 days, it's all over now, and this is a special song for the wedding night. The words convey certain embarrassment. They go too fast for me to translate, but it seems to be all right at the end because we hear Maria and Stoyan drinking to each other's health. To your health. But even in the Balkans, not every romance ends in marriage, and there is music for that occasion too. Mention the word doina to any Romanian who has been away from home for any length of time, and watch his face sink in a shadow of nostalgia. The doina is a type of composition, either vocal or instrumental, whose theme is generally unfulfilled love. It was Bela Bartok who called attention to this genre, even to the Romanians. The British folklorist Bert Lloyd told me that in Romania, the doina serves the same function as the blues in the United States. What we have here is an instrumental piece performed on panpipes with 21 tubes. It's only found in Romania and dates back to Greco-Roman times. Here is what a doina may be about. He who hears me sing would say that I have nothing to sing about, and true enough, I haven't many thoughts, but I have one, and this one hurts. If one follows the path which musical culture must have traveled from east to west, it is without doubt that we would find the Romanian peoples, their music and their folk culture, all the literature of the peasant, very closely connected with that of the Balkans. Although geographically not within the Balkan Peninsula proper, in my opinion at least, it is actually part of the Balkans in terms of musical past anyhow. Hard work, I found, had not changed very much either, nor had traditional work songs. A great deal of the work, as most of you know, the work in the field, especially harvesting, is done by women. One could hear in the distance the drawn-out notes and free improvisatory vocal accompaniment, sometimes rather striking. In the work song which follows, notice the ease with which wide octave skips are taken, and notice the very close intervals which might give you the impression of being out of tune. I assure you they are not. They sing the same thing, the same way always. And here's how a harvest song from the Pirin region of Bulgarian sounds. This one I did not record, although I happen to know the area like a native. Happened to be born there. Yeah, the words of these songs are not very important usually. Sometimes there's nonsense syllables, as you hear two groups of workers on opposite hills singing to each other. Sometimes they're love songs or they're humorous songs. Often the mothers carry their babies with them to the field and deposit them under a shade to sleep, hopefully. Lullabies such as this one from Bert Loy's Albanian collection could easily be heard, monotony and all. Goes on and on. Many songs, similar to the one which cost Mille his life on the Dimna Bridge, sprang at the Balkans during the Turkish occupation and gave the peasant a hope. Brave bands of men, there were sometimes women also, took to the mountains and offered effective resistance. Known as haiduks in Yugoslavia and Bulgaria, and as kleftes in Greece, the peasant has rewarded them with countless epics, songs and dances that are among the most colorful in Balkan folklore. The term haiduk has been misleadingly translated as an outlaw. It is a member of the resistance, or more modern, of the underground, or simply a national hero, but never an outlaw. During World War II, they were known as partisans, and it is because of their sacrifices and efficient guerrilla tactics that a significant social experiment is possible today in Yugoslavia. The heroism of the partisans, too, captured the creative impulse of the people and resulted in many songs, the folk songs of the future. A cleftic song from Greece tells of the firewall between father and son, the son sending a message to one of the famous leaders in the Peloponnesus named Katsandonis. Oh, you say, my brave son, that you are going to Morea, going to send Lava to become a cleft. Oh, firewall, my son, you will become a cleft, and when you meet Katsandonis, tell him to be patient. Tell him to be patient, to be calm, for my son is not vigorous nor strong. Song and dance have always been inseparable, and many dances are known by the words to which they are danced. Often the story tells of helpless women who become prey to the oppressor. You will see next two Greek dances. The second one is from the island of Chios, and the first tells of an actual event which took place sometime before 1821. It is similar to the famous dance of Zalongu from the village of Suli in northern Greece. Sam Chianes, who translated, by the way, the previous song, has provided the following translation. Have courage, all you oppressed people. Have courage, sweet life, and you unfortunate country. Have courage forever. The maidens of Suli have not only learned to live, but also to die rather than live in bondage. Have courage, small fountains, hills, rugged cliffs and mountains. They pretend they're at a village dance, an Easter dance. Into the depth of hell they descend with song, with joy. Have courage, small fountains, hills, rugged cliffs and mountains. Fish cannot live on the land, nor man in the sea, nor will we, the maidens of Suli, live without freedom. And with these words, they leap to their death. Our dancers have promised us not to do that this evening because we need them for other dances later. The Greek dances were prepared under the direction of Vilma Machette. Due to mechanical difficulties and so on. 41 seconds and a half. As everywhere else, so in the Balkans, religion has influenced emotions, thoughts and behavior of the people. It has been one of the most vital forces in the preservation of national identity throughout the many centuries of darkness. There are two main religions, Christian and Islam. While there are many Catholics, the Greek Orthodox Church has the greatest number of followers. What the future holds for the newer generation behind the Iron Curtain is too early to assess yet, although I am not as pessimistic as some. But in Greece, where almost the entire population belongs to the Greek Orthodox Church, religion is indeed taken very seriously, and with it, as always, goes religious music. The final example is from the liturgy of the Greek Orthodox Church. It includes readings from the Eastern services, concluding with Christos Anesti, Christ is arisen, as performed by the Athens Cathedral Choir. The music is sung homophonically, with the exception of the Ison maintained by the choir. Spiros Peristeris, first chanter of the Athens Cathedral and one of the outstanding authorities on Byzantine chant, has provided the following commentary. Like the Orthodox iconographic tradition to which it corresponds, the Byzantine hymn is one of the great spiritual art forms of the Christian tradition, a form which has kept its vigor as an essential element in the liturgical life of the Church from the earliest Christian times to the present. What is along melisma and ecstasy?
Zoin, Arizona.
Thus we have seen that a nation can maintain its homogeneous unity only if there is a strong moral strength, common language and descent, religion and tradition. The mixture of three totally different peoples, the Slavs, Albanians and Greeks, has produced an extremely complex culture or cultures. And while the different peoples have preserved their individual characteristics because of location and because they have been subject to similar historic forces, I feel that a typically Balkan peasant personality exists, however vague its profile might seem on superficial examination. Through most of their history, they have shared and borrowed from one another musical traditions which, paradoxically enough, have made their musical dialects both similar and dissimilar. In all cases, although we have stressed this evening's similarities, music has been one of the dominant factors in the preservation of their identity. We shall proceed with few Yugoslav dances, but before I turn over the program to Mrs. Duning, I want to extend my appreciation to the technical staff for all assistance, especially David Kilpatrick, to Vilma Masset for having taken care of the Greek dances, to Father Hilary of the Holy Virgin Mary Russian Church for selection and permission to use these wonderful slides, and finally to the patient and brave audience who dared the elements this evening, and I hope it has been worthwhile. Thank you. Mrs. Elsie Dunin is an instructor in the dance department at UCLA, where she currently teaches a class in dances of Yugoslavia. The Greek dance was prepared especially for this evening. Mrs. Dunin has studied dancing in Yugoslavia and has performed with professional groups there. Next year, under a grant from the U.S. Government Office of Education, she will spend a year in Yugoslavia again, where she will concentrate on the dances of the gypsies, a field which to my knowledge has not been researched thus far. I am very grateful for her help this evening, and she will tell you more about the dances of Yugoslavia which follow. Mrs. Dunin.
The dance in the Balkan area is performed mainly in a circle formation. And many of you are probably familiar with some of the terms. In Romania, for instance, the dance is called the hora. In Bulgaria, the oro. And in Yugoslavia, the kolo, which literally means a wheel or something turning. This circle formation has many variations from one Balkan country to the next, and actually further from one area within one country, from one area to the next, from one village to the next. The differences in the dances occur in various aspects. One that is very visible is the change in the arm hold, for instance. The dancers may hold on the shoulders, hold each other in side to side, a bent elbow, low hand hold, very close or very far. Many other variations. You've seen two this evening already. The two Greek dances. The first Greek dance, if you recall, had a bent elbow position, and the second, a shoulder hold. You'll see other arm positions with other dances this evening. Another characteristic that varies is the direction of the circle movement. The dance circle may move to the right or it may move to the left, or it can go back and forth, forward and back, symmetrically left and right. In Greece and Bulgaria, the dance movement usually moves to the right. In Yugoslavia, in the northern part of Yugoslavia, Croatia, the dances tend to move to the left, and in the southern part to the right. So this is something you can also see. Sometimes there is specific significance to the dance direction. In one area of Yugoslavia, for instance, the dances that move to the left are considered the correct way to dance. And in contrast, the dance that does move to the right is considered the wrong way. It's backwards. This backward dance is performed only at the occasion of funerals, when other wrong way, backward customs are also observed, such as wearing of the hat backwards, or clothing is worn inside out during a funeral occasion. Another characteristic that shows variation in the circle dances are the type of steps that are performed. There are vast variations, in fact. There may be gliding type steps or leaping type steps, or very small steps confined to an area. You will see two examples from Yugoslavia with differing steps. There will be 3 dances from Croatia, the northern part of Yugoslavia. The dances tend to be fairly flat-footed, unadorned, mainly because the dancers usually sing while they dance, although the dancers this evening will not sing, they will only dance. And then 3 dances from Serbia following afterward, where the footwork is very, very intricate. 3 dances from Croatia and 3 dances from Serbia. The dances are all students within the Dance of Yugoslavia class. Most of them have not done Yugoslav dances before this quarter. At least I'm very proud of them. Most of the dances in the Balkans are accompanied either vocally or instrumentally. The next two dances, which will conclude this program, are called silent dances because they have no musical accompaniment. They are prevalent in a remote mountain area in Bosnia-Herzegovina, an area in western Yugoslavia. These dances are believed to be very old. In fact, many of their titles, the names of the dances, include the word staro in them. Staro meaning old or ancient. The two examples that we're performing this evening are entitled Kolo najstarije, which means the oldest dance, and Staro Bosansko Kolo is Glamoch, which means the old Bosnian dance from the Glamoch area. These dances are usually performed in circles as the other kolos are, with the dance leader who cues the changes in the step patterns. This may be done either by movement cues or by vocal cues. Vocal cues simply stating, let's go, or turn around and go back, or let's do variation number 1, and so on. These dances are usually performed by young people eligible for marriage. In fact, in several villages, a young woman may dance after she is married only until her first child is born. The second dance that we're doing, the second silent dance, the Staro Bosansko Kolo, tests the endurance and the health of the young girls to see whether or not they're good wife material. They're tested to see whether or not they have asthmatic lungs, and it's no wonder because these dances are done out on hard-packed dirt. And with all the stamping and steps that they do, there's a lot of dust that comes up. And so it's probably a good test. The coin bibs that are worn, as you see an example, are both decorative and also part of the girl's dowry. We end the program now with two silent dances, Kolo najstarije and Staro Bosansko Kolo.
Can we get all those dancers to come out front and take a bow? That was really very nice. Are you available? Come on. Here they are. Come on. There must be some more back there. Some more? And to Professor Kremenliev, those who danced, those who've lectured in the series before, and to those of you who've attended, thank you so much. Good evening.